Well, back in the days, there was no fencing and everyone could just walk everywhere. And I think it's like they're getting people ready for prison. That has a massive impact on someone's psychological kind of way of thinking. I always knew that I would end up in prison. I never saw prison as a deterrent. I never saw prison as something to be scared of. I saw prison as a bit of an occupational hazard. The only way I thought I was going to get out of an area like this was by committing crime. It's like there's an invisible barrier, force field, kind of around these kind of estates. The only outsiders that come in are normally people with bad news.
I'm from one of the roughest areas in Hackney. I didn't join a gang. It was just like friends hanging out. Stealing a sweet from a sweet shop turned into doing something else, and that turned into doing something else, and next thing you know, we was living lives what we shouldn't have lived. I had to put up the image, like it or not, I had to put the mask on, and it's something I don't even know I'm wearing. I thought I was the person I was. And I accepted I was that person. But I wasn't, if that makes sense.
For myself, yeah, I was involved with the criminal justice system from a very young age. Yeah. Like, they know about my background. For me to be able to get to where I got to, doing 11 years in prison with no intervention prior to that, it just shows you that something's wrong, because I've been a part of the system from a very young age. When you're inside, yeah, and like you get those little day releases, your first day releases and stuff, you like just come, like if you was out in the park or like this or whatever, it's all like, wow, it's the park, or it's this, it's that, it's freedom, yeah. Like, it's funny how when you get out, how quickly all this becomes just normal again and you don't appreciate it again, you get me? 2 months down the line and that, it's just, I don't even want to go out, I'd rather stay inside. You go to prison for 11 years and all of those experiences that you take on wash it in prison as well. There's nothing to counteract that when you come out. I've been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. It's not just because of prison, but like a lot of things that I've been through in my life. Yeah, there's just like no help whatsoever. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place because you're supposed to present as being stable. So if you're not presenting as being stable, you're open to being recalled or to scrutiny and to extra conditions and stuff like that. Because you've done so long in prison, you feel like quite insecure in yourself because people that are a similar age or whatnot, they've achieved much more than you've achieved in your time.
I'm constantly worried about my environment and what's around me. So much trauma in my life that's just made small things like going to the shop. You might think I need to put a jacket on because it's raining. Those are the only thoughts that go through your mind going to the shop. Where with me, I've got a million of thoughts going through my mind. It's always small things. There's always something so small. I battle it and then I realise it was nothing. It's just something I just go through. In my comfort zone, I'm all right, but if you put me in other avenues, I melt. And I just don't know why. I knew eventually I'd find work, but I might get rejected a few times or told no. So how was I gonna deal with that? So that was something I battled for long. And that sort of stopped me from even applying, thinking, no, they're gonna say no. Look at me. They look at that piece of paper and it's just what's on that paper, and when it's so negative, I end up coming out with a job. I'm an engineer on the railway.
The biggest fear for people is when you change your life and you want to become this new person, am I going to fit into this new world? Because it is a new world. It's a world that you're totally oblivious to. I didn't know what it meant to pay bills and pay taxes and insurance and all this kind of stuff. Like the car I'm driving now is the first car I've ever been 100% legal in. I'm 41 years old.
I don't feel there wasn't a day where I didn't suffer some kind of abuse from prison officers. Suppose you've got a dog, you just lock it up in a cage for the period of time that I went to prison, which is 11 years, because that's effectively what it is. You spend most of your time in your cell. And every day you kick that dog, every day you kick that dog. When you eventually let that dog out of the cage, how do you think that dog's gonna behave? You know, it's sold as it's rehabilitation and it's this and that, but I don't really believe that it is rehabilitation. I feel like it's more punishment than rehabilitation. These people that you keep in there, you're gonna release them back into society at some point. So why not release them back into society and they can actually be productive members of society rather than people that are gonna go back out there and think, oh, what am I gonna do, and then get back into the rat race. Prisons are a law unto themselves, and I feel like if the public was taking a more active role in like seeing what's going on in there, they wouldn't be able to just do as they please, which they do now.
People used to say there's no good things about crime. I say that's absolute bollocks. There's brilliant things about crime. Feeling you're a part of something, the rebellious nature of it. You know, there's loads of good feelings of it. The bad things of it, you create victims, you go to prison. It's about being realistic about it. And when you know your personal self and you can be realistic, it gives you the confidence to then move on to the next stage. And it's all about having confidence to being able to break away from something that's been a massive part of your life. You need a focus first and foremost, and once you have that focus, you need to not be knocked off the kind of road to your final destination, your final journey. And this sounds really stupid, but don't do it for your kids, your family, because if you do it for yourself, they will benefit from that anyway.
I don't feel like I've been given a second chance because I wasn't given nothing. I made the conscious decision to do everything I'm doing myself. I just changed my life. I'm just doing this to make my son proud of me. I've always wanted him to look up at me. It's early days. Yeah, I think it's early days. I think it's early days with everyone in my life. 'Cause I could always relapse. I live my life clean-heartedly, but there's people out there that still might have an issue with me, and I've got to accept that. Them demons I've got to battle daily.
I think when we start looking at things as a society whole problem, rather than just a problem with the individual, then I think we can make greater strides in making the criminal justice system a more fair and just and humane system. No policy is worth the paper it's written on if it doesn't have the voice of the people that's governed by that policy. You're sent to prison to protect the public, but that shouldn't just mean because you're locked away for a certain amount of years that the public's protected from you. What about when you get out? The best way to protect the public is to make sure that when people go to prison, they're reformed, you know, because that means they're going to get them rehabilitated. That means when they get out of prison, they're not going to commit no more crime, and that is the best way to save the public, I think.
When you're inside, yeah, and like you get those little day releases, your first day releases and stuff, it's all like, wow, it's the parkour, it's this, it's that, it's freedom, yeah. It's funny how when you get out, how quickly all this becomes just normal again and you don't appreciate it again, you get me?
I always knew that I would end up in prison. I never saw prison as something to be scared of. I saw prison as a bit of an occupational hazard.
In my comfort zone, I'm all right, but if you put me in other avenues, I melt. And I just don't know why. I live my life clean-heartedly, but there's people out there that still might have an issue with me, and I've got to accept that. Them demons I've got to battle daily.